Hello everyone, my name is Florian. I'm one of the lead developers responsible for the StableNet portal, and today we will be giving a sneak peek about the newest features coming to the portal with version StableNet 25. This year's release was all about closing the gap towards the Java GUI, so we wanted to implement all these missing features while also enhancing existing views, introducing new workflows, and really making the portal available as a daily driver. And to achieve this, we got in contact with a lot of customers, our UX team got feedback, and with this year's release version, we also implemented some of these feedback we got from you. And one of the most requested features we had last year was view caching. This means, let's say you're working in this inventory overview, you just started dragging some columns, you deselected what you don't want to see, you started searching for some devices, and after some time, you wanted to switch views. You got to, for instance, the backup views. And now if you want to jump back to the overview, all your progress was lost. The columns would have reset, the settings were back to default, and you needed to start rearranging them again. With this year's release, all the settings you have for each view will automatically be kept. Of course, the data won't be stale, it will automatically refresh, but the settings for the columns, the filtering, and so on will all be as you left off, so that you can directly start working again. A different feedback we got was that especially if you're working on smaller screens, we had a lot of unused space. And we also tried to tackle these issues and improved quite a lot of the views. For a good example here would be the device backups view, where you have now a new compact header, less row height, so more backups can be seen, and you really can start focusing on the content of the view rather than the headers and the spacing. But of course, it's not only about improving smaller stuff. We also introduced quite a lot of new features and a lot of managing wizards. An example here would be the device overview. So in the old portal, it was just simply called devices. Now we also started introducing the measurements table as well as the monitor table. And on top of that, we also started introducing the creation wizards, the modification view, and so on. So as you can see here at the top, we have our dynamic toolbar. So depending on whether I click devices or select multiple devices, it will automatically show what is currently available. And for instance, let's say we create a new wizard, we have the creation dialog, which is similar to what you have in the Java GUI. But now also we took a spin on some of the components, we enhanced them, made them a little bit more visual pleasing. And for instance, a good example would be the due data map here, where you can now visually represent where your device is located, or you can simply browse the web, set a new location, and so on. Similar aspect, of course, we introduced measurement wizards. So if you're, for instance, clicking a device, you have now a new context menu where you can create a new measurement. And of course, you can start modifying existing measurements and so on. With the release of StableNet 25, the most common measurements will be available. So for instance, ping, SNMP template, SNMP interface, VME, and so on. And down the line, we also will start introducing the more uncommon wizards like IP SLA. So back to the measurement wizard itself. Especially if you're a new user for StableNet, working with StableNet as a whole can be quite intimidating because there's so many features, there's so much ground to cover. And to help you with this, we started to introduce welcome pages and documentation links. So as you can see here, for the ping measurement wizard, we shown some more information to the user. What is he currently creating? Which KPIs will be created when you start creating a ping measurement? And on top of that, at the bottom, we now have these documentation links. So as some of you might remember, last year we introduced the documentation to the portal so that you can directly access the documentation for your version inside the portal, so that you don't have to jump between the old documentation portal and your StableNet portal. And with this year, we also took it a little bit further. We now have these documentation links. And if you start clicking these links, it will automatically open the documentation for this corresponding task in a new window, so that you can directly move this, for instance, to a new screen, so that you can have the documentation open while working with the wizard. And of course, this supports all the normal features you have in our documentation. So you can click the glossary, you can start searching, you can have multiple tabs available where you can have different kinds of documentation open at the same time. So to make it really easy to work with StableNet and to get the workflow going. And we have the typical options you would have with the Java GUI now also available. And of course, the same thing goes with the monitor wizards and stuff like the agent wizards. So there's quite a lot of more to see here. But it's not only about having these options available. We also wanted to make them available everywhere on the portal. And to do that, we now started to introduce a context menu for the tag tree. So now if you're in any view in the portal and there's a tag tree, you now have access to this context menu. So for instance, here we have a device, and if I right click the device, you can see that I have now the device context menu. I have all the typical options as well as the new ones. And here we can take a look. So we now, for instance, have the show properties dialog, which is new, which shows all the properties for the corresponding device. We have dialogs like modify device attributes, where you can start overriding the flags and information for the tree, but also for individual devices. Similar to that, of course, we have our typical analyzers, where you can see the latest data. We have some new analytic dialogues. So for instance, here we have the network service analyzer, and we have, for instance, the traceroute dialog, which is a new dialog to show how the agent gets towards your device. So you can select an agent in the top left corner, you can check some settings, and then you will get a visual representation on how many hops the agent takes towards your device. You get some more information, how long each hop took, and so on. So really just check out the release notes to see all these new dialogues, features available, and test them out yourself. Okay, but it's not only about new modification and accessing through context menu. We also wanted to make it a little bit easier to get this information when you're working in a table. So especially if you're working with this larger table, StableNet has a lot of references in these tables. So for instance, we have here the name, which holds a reference to the devices, but we have different views where we have measurement references, we have monitor references, and so on. And of course, you now can say, hey, I could use the context menu, but it was always a little bit tricky because you had to know where to jump to see the actual information. And to address this issue in this year's release, we also started introducing some drill downs. This means if you see that any entry in a table has these underlines, and as you can see, if you hover them, you get also visual feedback with highlighting that this is a clickable link. And if you click, for instance, here a device reference, it will start automatically now open the device dashboard, showing you the latest measurement informations, but also health entries regarding the monitor. You can see the open alarms, you can see device events. So all these information which you have in the device box are now available everywhere when you start clicking device references. But this is not only bound towards this device view, this is globally available. So for instance, let's jump back to the device dashboard I shown before. And as you can see here, we also have a device reference, and we can click that to show the device dashboard. But we not only stopped with the devices, we also introduced this for measurements, for monitors. So as you can see here, we have the latest measurement values for each monitor available. And as you can see, the header again is a drill down link. So if we click it, it will automatically open the analyzer for this monitor and show the latest data. And this is, for instance, also with the open alarms table. So if we are, for instance, in the dashboard, we take a look at an alarms table, we can now click any alarm name and see, hey, I get the alarm detailed information, so to make the information easier available for the user. Or for instance, in the alarms and events view, we have the action events where you have always monitor reference. So now clicking them will, of course, open the device analyzer and so on. And also, we have a new dialog here available. So for instance, if you have a measurement reference and you click that, it now will open the measurement dashboard, which is quite similar to what we have with the device dashboard. And it will show the open alarms for the measurement as well as the monitor entries. And with these dashboards, you always have also the options to access the context menu of the selected element in the top right corner, so that you can directly jump to wherever you like and to have an easier way to work with that, to access the information you need. Of course, we have a lot of more features to cover, but due to the time constraints, we will stop here. And we will have future videos available where we go in depth about these new features. And like always, check out the release notes. And I hope you are happy with the progress we made.